4 women, multiple allegations, a congressman who just resigned and dropped out of the California governor's race. If you've been following the Eric Swalwell story, you might think this came out of nowhere. I'm Brian Hannemann. I've been representing sexual harassment victims in California for 33 years. This did not come out of nowhere. I've seen this exact pattern, the power, the entitlement, the silence, the eventual reckoning play out in courtrooms across Southern California for 3 decades. Stay with me because what happened to Swalwell's alleged victims and what's happening right now follows a blueprint I know by heart. And if you understand that blueprint, you can protect yourself and recognize when someone in your life might need help. Here's what we know. Today, here's what's been publicly reported according to CNN and other major news outlets. Eric Swalwell, the Democratic congressman from California and leading candidate for governor, formerly, now faces allegations from 4 women of sexual misconduct spanning from 2019 to 2024. The most serious allegation comes from a former staffer who told CNN that Swalwell sexually assaulted her twice, once in 2019 when she worked for him, and again in April 2024 after a charity gala in New York City. She alleges she was heavily intoxicated both times and unable to consent. CNN corroborated key elements of her claims through medical records, text messages she sent to friends, and interviews with family members who say she told them about the alleged 2024 assault within days. That's contemporaneous corroborating evidence. 3 other women have alleged various forms of sexual misconduct, including Swalwell sending unsolicited explicit messages. The Manhattan District Attorney's Office has announced it is investigating the 2024 New York incident. On Monday, April 13th, Swalwell resigned from Congress, saying he was deeply sorry for mistakes in judgment, but denying what he called serious false allegations. He had already dropped out of the governor's race 2 days earlier, as fellow Democrats, including former Speaker Nancy Pelosi, called on him to step aside. In 33 years of representing harassment victims, exclusively victims, never the harasser, I've seen this story before. The elements are almost identical. First, the power imbalance. Swalwell was a sitting congressman. These women were staffers, interns, or political supporters who looked up to him professionally. He controlled access, recommendations, career opportunities. That dynamic does not disappear after work hours. Second, the sense of entitlement. When you're used to people saying, "Yes, sir," all day, when you're treated as important everywhere you go, some men start believing normal boundaries do not apply to them. Third, the exploitation of trust. According to the reports, the former staffer stayed in touch with Swalwell because he was a powerful person in her field. He used that professional connection to create opportunities for personal exploitation. Fourth, the alcohol factor. Both alleged incidents with the former staffer involved heavy drinking. This is not a coincidence. It is a strategy. Impaired victims cannot consent. They have trouble remembering details, and they're easier to intimidate later. And fifth, the decade of protection. Rumors about Swalwell's behavior have been circulating for years, according to NPR and other outlets. But he was useful to his party. He served on high-profile committees. He was articulate on TV, so the whispers stayed whispers until they didn't. Now let's talk about what these allegations mean legally, because California has some of the strongest sexual harassment protections in the country. And they've been getting stronger. Under the Fair Employment and Housing Act, California Government Code Section 12940, workplace sexual harassment includes unwelcome sexual advances, requests for sexual favors, and other verbal or physical conduct of a sexual nature. This applies even after someone leaves their job, if there's an ongoing professional relationship. For civil claims of sexual assault, California recently extended the statute of limitations significantly. Under Assembly Bill 2777, passed in 2022, victims now have until age 40 or within 5 years of discovering psychological injury from the assault to file suit, whichever is later. But here's what many victims don't know. You can also pursue claims under Civil Code Section 51.9, which covers sexual harassment in professional relationships, including relationships with the elected officials. This law has a 3-year statute of limitations, but can result in actual damages, punitive damages, and attorney's fees. The key legal concept here is what's called quid pro quo harassment, where submission to sexual conduct becomes an explicit or implicit term of employment, or where rejection of such conduct affects employment decisions. Based on the reported facts, if these allegations are proven, they could fit that definition perfectly. Why do victims stay silent? Okay. The former staffer said something that breaks my heart, but doesn't surprise me. She said, "I always felt like if I came forward, I was going to suffer the consequences because he was so powerful. I lived in fear every single day." This is trauma psychology 101. When someone has power over your career, your reputation, your future, the risk of coming forward feels enormous. And that fear is justified. Retaliation happens, and I've seen it. But here's what I've also seen. Staying silent does not make the fear go away. It just makes the predator bolder. These 4 women who came forward likely prevented harm to others. That takes extraordinary courage, and it works. The psychological aftermath of workplace sexual harassment often includes anxiety, depression, difficulty trusting colleagues, career disruption, and what psychologists call hypervigilance, constantly watching for signs of danger. These effects can last years. They're real, they're measurable, and they're compensable under California law. What to do if this is you? If you're watching this and thinking about your own situation, here's what you need to know. Document everything: time, place, witnesses, exact words. Email yourself a summary the same day. Save screenshots, voicemails, texts. That is all contemporaneous corroborating information, which is super important to a jury later on. Report it properly. In California, you have options. You can file with Human Resources, call your manager, file with the Department of Fair Employment and Housing, or you can get a lawyer, file directly in court. Each path has different deadlines and requirements. Don't go it alone. Find an attorney who specializes in harassment cases and represents victims, not companies. Most of us work on contingency, and you pay nothing unless we win. And remember, the shame belongs to the harasser, not you. The fear is normal, the anger is justified, and the system, slowly but surely, is starting to work. The Eric Swalwell story is not over. There are criminal investigations ongoing, new developments every day. But it's already accomplished something important. It's reminded us that power without accountability becomes predation. If this video helped you understand something about harassment law, or if you're dealing with a situation like this yourself, call me. 3 decades of this work has taught me one thing above all. Victims deserve justice, and they can get it. I'm Brian Hannemann. Thank you for watching.